Hi, hello, Sam. Glad to have you at Magic Academy podcast.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. I've been really excited to hop on the show.
Excellent. When I first came across the startup that you're building, it gets me super interested. Can you tell us exactly what this platform does? Like what?
Sure.
Mhm.
So right now we're at the I guess like the pivot moment. So initially our platform when it launched, it was for grade improvement, homeschooling support, and even like a tutoring alternative. So tutoring is a costly industry because you have to pay someone to one-on-one, put in their time to teach your kid something outside of school. If you feel that your kid needs extra support or that they're not being, I guess, stimulated enough in school, or they need to go higher in a certain area, you might be, inclined to hire a tutor, but you're usually paying, $40 an hour, $50 an hour. Like it's expensive, and it definitely adds up for families. So the other idea is we've basically made an application that students can use after school, and they can learn those from those areas that they might be lacking in. They can learn at their own pace, and they can get that extra support for a fraction of the cost. So that's basically what we're trying to do there. But homeschooling parents also have trouble where they have to rely on really old textbooks, or they have to rely on other parents to give them resources on how to homeschool their kids.
Mm.
So we're just trying to also help them out a bit and make sure that they have the resources that they need so that their kids can learn in an engaging way. It's to replace the idea that one-on-one tutoring is necessary. So it's an application that has lessons, quizzes, all sorts of little like bite-sized content for the kids to go through, and it makes sure that
Mhm.
it's for their year level, it's for their specific subject areas, and the kids go through them. They're incentivized to participate because they're getting experience points, they're leveling up, they're moving through a platform, and they have the characters that are leveling up. They have incentive to, I guess, engage with the platform, and we're really just trying to mix in the elements of what makes a learning platform effective in terms of education, but then also what makes an experience effective in terms of engagement. So we're trying to find a balance between video game ideas and learning platform ideas, and trying to blend it all in one so that students can have an actual engaging time with their education, and they feel that they have self-determination, they feel that they're empowered, and that's really important throughout platforms. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're trying to do.
Mm. I see. So the ambition of removing the need for tutor is very ambitious.
It's
So
definitely
you mentioned
ambitious.
about yeah.
Yeah, it's something that I guess obviously tutoring will be around for a while, but if we can free up certain households from needing to spend that amount of money on tutoring, that would be great. But yeah, it's basically just the idea that we're trying to focus on is that it's an application that we all would have liked to have used if we were in high school ourselves. So yeah, that's basically what we're trying to achieve there. If we were a teenager and we were using an app, we probably wouldn't have liked to have used IXL or Maths Online or something like that. So we're trying to make an
Mm.
application that actually has that incentive structure in it that makes me want to engage without being forced to engage. So that's what we're really trying to bake into this, that we
Mm.
want kids to learn and we want to make sure that they're learning well, but we want that to be an enjoyable experience that they feel that they have control over and they feel that they're getting a lot out of. So we have, yeah, experience points, characters, leveling up, on-demand reporting, which is also a really interesting area where when you're in school at the moment, they have a thing called it's basically it's summative assessment. or summative reporting, wherein you do your whole semester of work, and then after that you're kind of you're given your report card, and then I guess like most students, this is definitely true for me. You get your report card, you see what you got, and then that's about it. You get your A, your B, and then you go for your 2 weeks holiday, your 3 weeks holiday. You come back, and you don't really remember what you got the previous term. So the score you got doesn't really change anything in how you learn. It might make a tense argument at home. It might give you a difficult time with your parents or something. But most of the time, it doesn't really do much. So what we're really trying to do there is, if a student can know how they're doing in real time, then they can adjust and they can make those changes before it gets to the stage of them failing, or gets to the stage of them not understanding the content at all that their peers might be understanding and moving forward with. So if they can check that, oh,
Mm.
okay, in real time, my algebra is not great right now. My understanding of geometry, excellent, but algebra, I'm not doing too well. And I know that right now that it needs help. So then I would start to focus more on that. My parents know it as well. Maybe my teachers know it as well. So that data is really important for everyone, the student, the parent, the teacher, and they can make those changes before anything significant happens.
Mm. So it's kind of um like learning in a full sense, like learning, make sure
Exactly.
that everything that you learn, you have all the support right there when you need it, so you can
Exactly.
move
Yeah.
forward. So it's like a competency, mastery based kind of
It's
learning
definitely mastery based,
trajectories.
yeah. Because there's been so many times where even I in school have felt that, okay, I'm not understanding this, and everyone is kind of moving forward with it, and you feel like there's a sense of dread when a whole classroom is moving forward with something that you don't feel like you've gotten yet, and that's
Mm.
really what we're trying to solve here. That making sure that every student's journey is moving at a pace that they are comfortable with, and that they are actually understanding the content before they move forward. So yeah, that's the ethos there.
Very interesting. You mentioned about using, we talked about using AI as a teacher or teacher's assistant. You also talk about using AI as a non-player character in a game or a simulated environment. Can you tell us a little bit more of how you are currently leveraging AI to um, be an NPC?
Sure. Yeah. So I guess the like future outlook for our platform is, yeah, to be that cool intersection between game and learning platform, so that the students are
Mm,
engaged, they're interested in the platform, they have their character, they're leveling up, they're moving through the platform, and they have an incentive to keep interacting with the platform. And in terms of outside of the educational aspect of that, we could move towards the RPG elements of that. So right now we already have RPG elements in the platform where, yeah, you can level up, customize your character. You have pets and all that. So there's
mm,
items to collect. There's those sort of elements. But I found that as a player of games, the most interesting part of an RPG is always the NPCs, the people that you interact
mm,
with, that give you your quests, that join you in your adventure, that give you all those sort of interesting experiences. They're the most interesting aspect to me, and putting them in a platform like this, obviously is important and something that we've been working on for a while. But
mm,
AI could really change that experience to make it more dynamic. So let's say,
mm,
without AI, I make the idea of an NPC. He's maybe
mm,
he's a blacksmith or something. He makes armor, and you approach him, and he gives you some interesting quest to go and find him some special item, to then he'll make you a cool sword or something like that. Now, I would have to write the entire experience, and I would have to write all of the dialogue for that. But
mm,
the issue with that as well is that for the player, I would also have to write the dialogue choices for the player. You couldn't actually say what you wanted to him. I would just give you, 3 or 4 options for how you would interact with him. I would give you maybe some nice options, maybe some rude options. You could be kind of like, it gives you some flexibility there, and then he would have different dialogue depending on how you talk to him. But it's not really your specific way of wanting to talk to him. It's just kind of finding like the best fit that I've already scripted for you. I've already written the story for you, and you're kind of just choosing which element of what I wrote is most interesting to you. So that's the old way of doing it. That's how video games currently work. But with AI, I don't have to do that. I could just, instead of scripting anything for him, I would teach him as an AI that, okay, you're a blacksmith, you have these interesting quests to give out, you have these interesting incentives and these interesting goals as a blacksmith, and when you interact with the student, you want the student to be, I guess, telling you specific things, to prompting you in specific areas. But I'm not writing your dialogue. I'm just writing your story. You are this, and now when a student comes to you, he can say whatever he wants, or she can say whatever she wants. So they they can have a really interesting dynamic conversation with you, and they could say completely human natural language, and they don't have to choose dialogue options. They could say whatever they want and have a very personal experience with him, so that they can have a very real feeling conversation, instead of it just being, oh, here's some options to choose from, and these are your options, and you can go from there. You can basically just say whatever you want, and he'll react in however way that he's been programmed to react in. But yeah, that's basically what we're trying to do there, trying to make experiences that feel real and that are giving students that sort of immersion in a platform, and with a game that they feel that, oh wow, okay, that's interesting, he's like a real person, he's like a real blacksmith. Maybe he's a bit grumpy, and that's kind of cool, and maybe I could be nice to him, or I could be rude to him. And if I'm rude, maybe he doesn't give me the quest, maybe he tells me to go away. It's a good learning experience for the kid. It's an interpersonal experience for the kid. It gives them that experience of, if you talk to someone in a specific way, they will have different reactions. And if you are nice to people, maybe they'll, be nicer to you. And if you're rude or not, then, maybe you'll have different reactions. But yeah, that's basically what the idea around AI could do there, is that you won't have to script interactions anymore. You would have more natural interactions that would feel a little bit more like real life.
Excellent. What are some elements that really engages players in a good game? How do you characterize a
Progression.
how did you characterize?
Progression is really an important one. You have to feel that you are moving upwards, that you are moving forwards towards something. How school and university usually works is that you start technically your semester on 100, technically, and then you get your first assignment, and it brings you down immediately. You're at 70%, or you're at 60%, or whatever, and then your average just keeps changing from there, and then you end up wherever you end up by the end of semester. Now, if you do an assignment and you get a 60% on it, you don't feel like you made progress. You just feel like you only understood 60% of something. So you don't really feel like you're making a sense of progression there. Whereas with an application like ours, or in a video game, you do something and you gain experience points. Now, if you did that thing really well, you would get more experience points. But if you did it mediocre, you still get some experience points. You're still moving in upwards direction a little bit. So you're incentivized to do better because you'll get more. But even if you don't do that well, you still feel like, oh, okay, I mean, damn, I only got, I only understood half of this lesson, but I'm still given, 500 experience points or whatever. So at least doing this lesson was worthwhile. At least there was a reason for me to have done this, because it's still moving me in an upwards direction. Whereas if you're in school, the incentive is you have to do the assignment because you're forced to, because your teacher said you had to. And if you got 60% on it, then okay, fine, I got 60%, and that is what it is. But you're not getting anything. You're not moving upwards. You're not building from there. So there's no upwards momentum, and that's a really engaging feature of video games and of what we're trying to do as well, where you feel that no matter what you're doing with a platform like ours, you're moving upwards, you're progressing. You feel like there's actually a point to this more than it just being, oh, I just had to do it.
Mm. Do you, in terms of the quality, so if you
Mm.
prompt an AI to be a non-player character, the NPC, do you think the quality of them improvising based on the students' responses are consistent? Have you encountered any particular challenge in that sense?
Okay, so with in terms of the AI powered NPCs, is obviously something that is not implemented yet. It's something that we're working towards. But the idea of the the quality of it, that's obviously something that you have to put in the work to put in those parameters around to make sure that you still need to write an overall story. You need to write enough data for that character to base itself off,
Mm.
and as long as you have that there, then the quality will still be maintained. But if you don't give it any of that data, if you don't give it any backstory or any goals or any world building, then it will feel a bit
Mm.
flat, a bit bland, and yeah, you would lose a little bit of that quality. So it's just about putting in the work to create a world around these
Mm.
characters and to create a backstory for them, and then let them go and play through AI. But you need that guardrail around it. You need that I guess that structure around it. So it's like you make a
Mm.
structured world, you make a very well defined world, and then you let these agents, these AI agents, go and play in them and interact with the players or the
Mm.
students.
Interesting. The guardrails. How do you structure a guardrail? What are some key elements that needs to be considered in the guardrail document?
Again, it's as if you're doing an employee handbook. I would say that's the easiest way of explaining guardrails. It's just treating it as a member of a team or a member of a company, and then you just have very
Mm.
strict employee handbook rules around how it should be
Policies.
interacting and how it should be speaking to people, and the sort of output that you want from it. Do you want it to talk in a casual way? Do you want it to talk in a
Mm.
very professional manner? You could even put in, if the student is speaking to you in a very casual way, then you can speak back in a casual way. Whereas if the student is speaking to you in a very professional setting, then you should match their way of speaking. You can then you can put parameters, obviously, no swear words, no, you can't give the student any URLs, no links to click on anything. If the student asks you anything that is inappropriate or uses swear words in the question, then you would then say, hey, sorry, this is inappropriate to talk about. Let's move on to something else. So all that stuff is important, and that has to be put in there.
I see. So it kind of like a policy document, like
Exactly.
it's highly customizable and situation based. The deeper, the more thorough the thoughts are putting into it, the better, the stronger the guardrails will be.
Exactly.
Mm. Excellent. Do you think that would help with leaders too, to help leaders to become better leaders?
I think so. It may end up driving us to a society that's a little bit more egalitarian and maybe a bit less leader focused, actually. It might just lead us to a society where people are kind of all on like this, a similar level, and they're all respected, and we may not, I guess, idolize specific people anymore. There may not be, cults of personality anymore. When everyone has this unbiased companion that can sort of tell them the raw truth that they might need to hear, rather than depending on leaders and stuff like that. But I think it will definitely help society function in a better way. But yeah, so I'm very excited for the potential of it.
Excellent. Do you think AI can truly be multicultural? I know currently the AI's database is heavily biased or one culture centric. Do you think AI has the possibilities to be kind of more cross-cultural, kind of
It does.
global
It
state of the
definitely does.
mindset?
It does. It depends on which AI you talk about. So OpenAI definitely was trained on a very Western data set, and the data that it was trained with is very Western centric. But that is just a data problem, not an AI or LLM problem. So the problem isn't with the technology. The technology there has infinite potential. The issue is with what it was trained on. So as long
Mm,
as other companies out there or other existing companies start looking at global south and start looking at different cultures, different countries, and training their data training their AI on that data as well, will definitely be in a much more equal place. And I think also the AI would be smarter if it wasn't just trained on one specific cultural data set. It would be a lot smarter if it could get in, all those sorts of different ways of thinking from different cultures around the world, so that it can then adapt to every different scenario, and that it could take into considerations things that people maybe in the West just don't take into consideration. And if the AI was only trained on Western data, then it would only think like a Western person. Whereas if it was trained on the entire world's data and data from all sorts of different cultures, different languages, it would have logic and understanding and reasoning from so many different diverse cultural sets. So it would not only be a more inclusive AI experience for different people, even if you take that out of consideration, for a person in the West using it, it would actually be a better experience having an AI that was trained on more diverse data sets, because it would technically be smarter in how it could think and how it could reason, because it would have a larger knowledge base and other ways of thinking. Now, it learns better when it can have opposing views, when it can have other sorts of ways of formulating ideas baked into it, that it wouldn't have if it was only trained on a specific data set from a specific culture. And that is the
mm,
issue with the internet, yeah, with the English side of the internet, is that it's very Western focused and it's very first world. But there's a whole host of data out there, in Asia, Africa, South America. There's all sorts of data sets out there that's available, that we need to start training the AI on, different AIs on it, and we need to encourage companies in those areas of the world, in those countries, to start developing their own AI, and then we can work together from there. But that would be the best case solution, that we train it on as much data as possible and on as much diverse data as possible. There's no point training it on a million Reddit pages from all from people that are in California and in Texas and stuff like that, because there's a very specific way that those people think,
mm,
and there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not getting other ways of thinking. The way that people in China or India or Indonesia formulate ideas are all completely different from each other. The way they use their languages are different. The way they debate is different. So it's really important that if we're trying to make a super intelligence or some sort of intelligence that could be the collective of the human thought and human ideas, that we actually give
mm.
it the resources to do that, and we give it the potential to do that, by feeding it as much diversity as we can.
It's a super brain, multicultural super brain.
Exactly.
Excellent. Great. Now let's kind of get into the final part of the conversation, which is the magic. the whole reason behind it is we wanted to kind of ask people to look within rather than out, like projecting out and looking for, like you mentioned, a particular leaders who dominates the culture, either economically or politically, find their own inner light. So my question for you is, when you were, let's kind of jump back in time, and when you were like 12 or 11 years old, what did you enjoy doing? What were you having fun with?
I really enjoyed playing video games. That was always a really big thing for me, and I definitely still do. So I'm happy that I've managed to do something that incorporated the elements from that industry that I found so interesting, that I found so engaging, and I've managed to then take that and put it in a different industry, in a way that engages people, in a way that enhances education for students. So I'm very happy that I managed to take in specific lessons from how those games worked and why kids love them, and move them to something else. So yeah, I'm very happy that I managed to do that.
Yeah, excellent. Um, do you have to overcome some sort of challenges in your lives?
In my life?
In your life, everybody has
Yeah,
one
sure.
life.
I mean, I would say that, going straight into this, straight out of university, I didn't work in geology as a geologist. I could have been making, a lot of money straight out of university, and I didn't go into that, so I didn't save money to start this. So it's been a very long journey to get it where it is now. I would say that, my magic would be more perseverance, and just sticking with
Perseverance.
something, and really just, no matter what, we tried without an app at first, and we were told no, and then, we made a demo, and we went from there. But it was a really long journey, and it was a really long process to get to where we've gotten now. And I think without perseverance, it wouldn't have reached that.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Sam, for sharing your stories. Is there any particular thing that you wanted to share, that my question hasn't been able to draw out yet?
No, I mean, this has been great. I think, yeah, the main thing I wanted to share is just that, if we could, I think in the '60s there was like this idea that science and technology was fascinating and inspiring, and we're gonna land on the moon, and we're gonna have, the world of tomorrow, and we're gonna have robots in our houses, and there was so much hope and inspiration tied to science and technology, that I think in the last, few decades, we've really lost. So I would say that it would be really nice if we could start moving towards that again, having that hope and inspiration, optimism, for the future, and for the potential that technology and science can bring us, rather than just focusing on the negatives of it, and actually being inspired and inspiring others around it, would be the ideal way of thinking, from my point of view.
Excellent. Thank you, Sam, so much for sharing your insights, your wisdom, your thinking, and your optimism, for a more diverse, equal future, with the help of AI. So, such a
Thank
great
you so
chat.
much.
I hope you enjoy the chat as I did.
I loved it. Thank you so much for having me.